second.
I'm a pretty bad kid.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 232 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner, and that's Trev. All in the house here for our 232 episode here, as my computer is still freaking out, so I can't do my usual moving things around, but it's okay. We stream live every Wednesday, and when you stream live, not only do you get the fun of our viewers joining the conversation, but you get some of the fun that happens here behind the scenes, which is, Nathan's computer crashing at, 15 minutes before it's supposed to be going on and not wanting to work. So that's just part of the fun. But you can be a part of that fun too by joining us live on Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern here on YouTube and Facebook. I saw that Stoner's already shown a few of the comments of our viewers who are already in the chat. Make sure if you get here, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subbed up the channel. Comment. Roger, on time. Appreciate you being here. Comment. Let us know that you're here and join the conversation, as it's more fun when you guys. It's the dregs of the off season right now. It's like the worst part of the off season too. There's no more drafts of other sports to keep you interested. Most of you don't even want to talk about the other sports anyways. Right. NFL is still it's 2 more weeks out. Exciting time. Tickets are available. I'm not sure if there's still any available, but I know Stoner's got some tickets. Trev's got some tickets, but that's all weeks away. But it's okay. We got some good topics to talk about today. Here in the warm-up, we are going to be talking Terry McLaurin in the wide receiver room and any concerns that we might have if Terry McLaurin isn't a go come week 1 will be answered here in the warm-up. For the game, we're going to be taking a look at big names. J.J. Watt.
TJ is
not
by the way.
Name. T.J. Watt is the name that is out there for people. And so maybe I should change the title of this video, because that title definitely says J.J. and not TJ. So we'll be on that one, because definitely should not trade for JJ Watt. But TJ Watt is a name that recently got thrown into the mix as far as teams are starting to offer, the Steelers something, as that's their player that they haven't been able to get in because of contract talks. So we'll be talking about that in the game. And then in the cool down, it's a grab bag. We've got 2 questions prompted. Our question of the day was put out this morning. So if you hadn't seen that, you can go check that out, but we will be answering that here in the cool down. And there's another one that these 2 don't know about just yet. So that one will be answered as well. But let's get into the wide receiver room discussion.
Yeah.
First off, with Terry McLaurin, on a scale of 1 being poopy and 10 being the best wide receiver room in the NFL, with Terry McLaurin, where do you rate the Washington Commanders wide receiver room, Trev?
4.
A 4.
Maybe a 5.
With Terry McLaurin?
Yeah.
Out of 10?
Out of 10.
Are we I'm gonna say a 5.
Okay.
Why?
What's your justification for a 5?
Everybody thinks I'm Debbie Downer. This guy over here.
Why? Because
he's been historically down on the wide receiver.
Yes.
I saw this on social media the other day, and I didn't send it to the group chat, but it is what it is. I forgot where I saw it, who said it, but I saw it. Jaden Daniels took us to the NFC Championship with Noah Brown. I know he was injured, but this is the wide receiver. Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey, Jamison Crowder. Who else you want to throw in? OZ, Zacchaeus.
He was your second leading receiver. Yeah.
And he took us to the NFC Championship with those receivers.
Yeah.
We did not get better in the receiving room, even after Deebo Samuel. We did not get better.
Wow. I think that's crazy.
I love Deebo. I love Deebo. We got we got better, but it's nothing that is going to scare defenses and for them to be like, oh, let's game plan for this and game plan for that. All we did was add Debo Samuel. And got rid of Jameson Crowder. We still have Noah Brown. And then we added retreads and people who retired last year and came out of retirement. Michael Gallup. Yeah, I know it's kind of high on him when we signed him, but like he's been out since OTAs because of a hamstring injury. Why? Because he hasn't played football in a year. That's probably why. So if you just want to go down the list, assuming everyone's healthy, you got Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel. After that, you got Jags. And I know I'm including Luke McCaffrey in that second year, but he was pick 100. It wasn't like he was a first-round pick. And it's not me saying I don't like him. I'm just being real right now. Outside of Terry and Debo, you got Noah Brown, KJ Osborne, Michael Gallup, Jalen Lane, who's a rookie, Luke McCaffrey, and then you got Ja'Cory Brooks, a practice squad guy, all that. So it's like it's not scary outside of Terry and Debo. So with Terry, I give it a 5. Without Terry, I give it a 4, to be honest. Yeah, Jaden did crazy stuff with the receivers we have last year. That's cool, but that was also Jaden Daniels for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, this is you're not in unfamiliar territory, Trev.
No.
Roger here saying, Trev, the QB makes the wide receiver. We are fine at wide receiver. I said this as far as don't go out. You don't need a big name wide receiver. As much as I would love a Justin Jefferson, right? Look at Patrick Mahomes. And they did okay after getting rid of Tyreek Hill. All right. They did. They won a Super Bowl.
Sure.
Probably a couple.
No, so we have that big name, but our big names are aging wide receivers and Terry McLaurin, and the other one is questioning about if he's in shape or not. That's our top 2 wide receivers, you guys. Do you hear that about anybody else in the league? I mean, I know we're Commander Central here, but I don't hear anything else over, and we all follow it. Someone's out of shape. Someone's aging. We shouldn't pay him. I don't know. Everyone else is getting paid or they're in shape. Over here in Washington, as good as it is, we haven't signed our number 1 wide receiver in Terry McLaurin yet. And there's debates of Debo's in shape or not. We've got this man having his trainer post videos to show the world that he's in shape. That's what we're dealing with in the wide receiver room right now. So on paper, cool, but reality, we ain't scaring nobody.
I think we'd probably see those videos regardless of the chatter around.
I don't know. I didn't see him in San Francisco like that. And we follow the NFL. Think about it. You don't see it.
Stoner, Trev is pretty low, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You say that he's pretty low. Where would you rate them?
I think I think Trev's take was a good word for it is insane. That's an insane take on the wide receiver room.
Oh.
There are questions in the wide receiver room. There's no doubt. When you have your number 1 wide receiver is not signed, or technically he's signed through this year, but he's not going to play without a new contract, number 1. Your number 2 receiver, there are questions out there about him being in shape or not. And everybody can say haters and all this other thing, but there are legitimate people out there who are concerned not only about him being in shape, but about him having lost a step from the amount of punishment he has taken. And your number 3 wide receiver, you have no idea what his injury situation is. Somebody tell me what they've heard about Noah Brown and his injury from OTAs when he went down and was carted off and slamming stuff. We don't know. So there are questions there.
You're right.
Of course. There are questions. You can go through every room, every wide receiver room in the NFL, and you can have certain questions about that room. So you really have to look at what are the Commanders like if everybody is playing up to where they're expected to play. If Terry McLaurin has the same type of year that he had last year, and there's no reason to think that he can't, there's no reason. He's going on 30 years old. He's not going on 35. And he just had his best statistical season because of Jaden Daniels mostly. But that's what he does. And then you have Debo Samuel, who, if he plays up to what he can be, he's only 29. And Noah Brown, if he can be that wide receiver 3, that's all you're asking. Wide receiver 3, you're asking for 40 catches maybe and 400 and some yards. If all of them do what they are capable of doing, you have a wide receiver room that has to be dealt with by other teams. They have to be game planned for. Sorry, Deebo Samuel, if he is playing up to his capabilities, has to be game planned for. And we already know Terry McLaurin does.
Yeah.
So
There are concerns, no doubt. But let's just kind of cool our jets on saying that the wide receiver room is a mess because of all this other stuff. It's July 2nd, too, by the way. It's
July
training camp
2nd.
is July 24th, something, 3 weeks away. Talk to me on July 29th when we're at training camp and Terry's not there and Deebo is running half wind sprints because he's tired out and Noah is on the sidelines on the Ashburn bicycle team. Then we'll have concerns. But right now, if they're all up to their capabilities, it is a room that has to be dealt with.
Nathan,
Did you
I
give
know
us a
were
number
listening.
yet, though? Did he give
Yeah.
us a number yet?
No, he
Trey?
didn't. No, he didn't.
Where I would rank what
Well,
number I would give them out of 10.
1 is poopy. 10 is the best room in the NFL.
I can't wait.
Can I use decimal points? Because anybody who doesn't use
You can
decimal
use colors,
doesn't know
Roman
what-
numerals, whatever you want.
I would give it their room a 7.8.
Wow.
You are insane.
It is a room that has to be dealt with. Sorry.
You got to be kidding me,
I'm sorry. They are.
Stoner.
They're- I'm not talking about long-term 3 years from now. I'm talking about in season 2025. If Terry McLaurin is signed and Deebo Samuel is not fat, and if Noah Brown is healthy, that is a room that is in the upper echelons of the league, in the top
You've got okay. This is
top 10
ridiculous.
in the
bro.
league.
This is
Sorry,
ridiculous.
it is.
You mean to tell me Noah Brown makes us top 10 when the homeboy hasn't finished the whole entire NFL season healthy? And it's not like
wasn't
we
even our number 2 statistically.
Thank you. And it's not like we don't know what he's going to give us. We've already seen it. We've seen it previous years when he didn't finish the season. And then we saw it last year when he didn't finish the season. Stoner, he didn't even finish off-season workouts because of injury. And you're
Right.
already saying if he's healthy, we're a scary. No, we're not, bro. Terry and Deebo is all we got. Luke is unproven. He can return punts. KJ Osborne has proven he can be number 2 in Minnesota, but he came to us in middle of the season and got 0 playing time. Jalen Lane is looking to be our punt returner guy and maybe a 3rd or 4th option. And then after that, who do you have, bro? Ja'Cory Brooks, Kaz
I don't
Allen,
care about
Chris Moore.
wide receiver 4,
That-
5, 6, and
Well,
7.
that's
I don't.
so it's the wide receiver room, and you're talking about the room, and they're in that room, so you have to take them into consideration with this ranking. Now,
Well,
if, you're saying
if
the
I'm
top
giving them a
3,
rating and I'm comparing them to other teams, I don't know who is wide receiver 5 on the Los Angeles Chargers.
that's my whole
Nobody
point.
does, and
Everybody
nobody
else
cares.
has top 3 or 4 that they don't care, but our top 2, everyone knows. After that, no one knows.
Who has, just off the top of your head, who has a better 1-2 punch than Washington?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mike Evans, Jalen McGillen, Chris Godwin, and there's another one they just drafted this year, the guy from Arizona.
Okay, I said
think.
top 2, but okay.
That's,
I
hey,
think
we
you're struggling
they're
on.
our newfound
basic
rivals
math.
now because we see them in the postseason, so we have to worry about that.
All right, so Tampa Bay.
Then you got let's see, you go to Pittsburgh, you got George Pickens, you got Freiermuth,
That's
you
funny. I
got
thought he got
somebody else,
traded.
Aaron
George Pickens
Rodgers.
is
thought he
the
got
CeeDee
traded.
Lamb in
I'm
Dallas.
lying. Okay, don't do that. But Dallas, you got George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb,
Yeah.
the
definitely.
tight end, and then somebody on the backfield probably can catch passes.
I'm just
and Dak
asking for the
Prescott.
top 2.
I've already named top 2.
No,
that
I'm
are
talking
better
about
than-
the top 2 on these teams.
TJ bringing up Philly.
Philly absolutely has a better.
New York Giants have a better top 2 than us.
Who's their number 2 wide receiver?
Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton ain't even their number 2, by the way. He's their number 3.
He's their
Wandale
number
Robinson was their number 2 last year.
Well, he should be
And
number 2 because
if you
Slayton
think Wandale
kills us.
Robinson is better than Deebo Samuel, then you should probably
Stoner,
hit-
it's the
I gotta
room.
go.
Terry and Debo, I'm not even including them because they're proven and given. That's automatic. After that, our wide receiver room sucks.
I mean, you honestly do have an argument, and with the Giants, that Malik Neighbors and either Robinson or Slayton are at least not that far behind a Terry Debo
No, I disagree.
1-2 punch. You think
Let me
that's a bigger one? Malik
Because
Neighbors
they're number
is
2. Because
Let
their
me tell
number
you
2
this.
is nowhere near.
nowhere near
Stoner.
Debo's,
Real
but
quick,
Nowhere near.
Real quick, Nathan. I'm sorry, real quick.
Okay.
Terry has produced over 1,000 yards with 1,000 quarterbacks. Okay, in this league. So we go out and finally get a comparable number 2 that he's been looking for since he got here in Deebo Samuel, and that puts us at a 7.8. Look what we've been with before Deebo, with Terry producing what he did. Okay, he had more touchdowns this year. That's great, for real it is, but he still had over 1,000 yards. But previous years, number 2 were Cam Sims, Adam Humphries, Jamison Crowder. Like, our wide receiver room was crazy, crazy bad. So we add Deebo, and it went from crazy bad to 7.8 because we add Deebo and pair him with everybody, a couple other Jags.
Yeah,
we're 7. That's
because Deebo Samuel, because of who he is, and you do absolutely have to figure the quarterback situation in, because Jaden Daniels makes those guys better. He made Terry McLaurin better. He made Zacchaeus better. He made Noah Brown better.
You're right.
He got De'Ami Brown $10 million a year. That fool was lingering in the depths of nothingness.
I get
it.
But let's say
he came along.
Deebo's got to miss some time. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say why. Who's stepping up? Who's stepping up?
Right. There are definitely questions. There are concerns, but every team has those same concerns.
7.8, bro.
7.8, absolutely.
All right, Nathan,
there's a few people who agreed with them. Sweezy, not one of them. 6.3 is where Sweezy went. Roger saying you don't need a top 10 room. Ricardo saying 7.5 is on point. Big E was one of the ones who said full support of Stoner here.
For once, that's good.
For once,
I got him on my side.
Big E also saying, by the way, the Deebo looks jacked in the latest photo they put out today. If the team's putting out photos, there's definitely probably some of that noise that they're hearing that they're just trying.
For sure.
I had already pointed out that 2 weeks before that video went viral of him jogging through a route and people calling him fat and slow. 2 weeks before that, there was a picture of him and Terry McLaurin on in their shorts and a t-shirt, out there during one of the mini camps or OTAs or whatever, and people talked about how jacked he looked. And then all of a sudden the narrative changed because of one video. Now, last year, that was the narrative that he had going into camp, was that he was overweight and wasn't working out and everything like that. He finished with 670 yards, 13 yards reception, which is just below his 6-year average, by the way, and also 136 yards on the ground. So collectively, he would have easily have been number 2 wide receiver here in Washington.
You know who else said he was overweight and out of shape last year? Deebo Samuel said he was out of shape and overweight last year. So he definitely was, and he definitely tends to get that way. But it is July 2nd. And when that video came out of him and we made fun of it a little bit, and we had fun with it a little bit. We know he's not going to come into camp fat and out of shape. He's not going to. He has 60 million reasons why he can't do that, because that's what he's trying to get, is like a $60 million contract. He's on the last year of his deal. He's motivated. We all get that. But it is kind of fun to make fun of it a little while. So I suspect that he's going to be in shape, ready to go before training camp gets here. And as long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be a factor in this offense. And Cliff Kingsbury is going to find a lot of different ways to get him the ball and do what he does best, which is what? Yak. That's what he does best. Yards after contact, yards after catch. There's 2 yaks, but his is yards after contact because he tends to run over guys. And that's the way he's going to be. And you got a game plan for that.
Yeah.
And that's a good, really good number 2 wide receiver is Deebo Samuel at 29 years old, motivated for a new contract.
I think I'm with you on that one. And Locked on Law talking about how Deebo is a load. He's probably 220. That's probably true right now. Playing weight's around 215 is what he is. But I mean, when you're talking about the contact that he takes, the guy needs to be bulky. right? This isn't a dainty wide receiver. This
No.
isn't Devontae Smith out there finessing people. All right. This is Deebo Samuel, who is going to outrun you, and if he can't outrun you, outmuscle you.
Mhm.
Sure.
There's another guy Stoner likes that is an outmuscle type guy. All right. DK Metcalf is one of those other muscled guys. I'm not concerned about Deebo's fitness level right now. I think that he is exactly where he needs to be.
Okay. I mean, I'm concerned about it right now, but I'm not going to be concerned about it on July 24th or whatever first day of camp is.
I'm not concerned about it right now because I don't think it's going to be a problem in a few weeks, and that people are going to forget all about this narrative of him being quote unquote overweight. That's why I'm not concerned about it now, because to me, it makes no sense to be concerned about it now when game time matters, or as franchise had put here, it doesn't matter. But whether he's overweight or not doesn't matter to me right now. As long as he produces during the season, who cares?
Okay. Right. That's true. But right now is not during the season.
I feel like we're living in the ninth circle of hell, Trav. With
right here.
Stoner and these takes. It doesn't matter if he produces in the season, if he misses volunteer mini camp, it's going to be a problem.
Exactly.
Hey.
Kudos to Stoner for staying true here. I'm going to get to my rating here in a minute because I haven't given a rating.
What is it?
Okay. JG asked, by the way, he said, I don't recall, where did you rank Washington's wide receiver group in the NFC East? I double checked. They were the third best. Okay. You had Philly, Dallas, Washington, and then the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And we are ranking the rooms, and we're talking about the wide receiver room right now with Terry, where we'd rank it. And Stoner, Trev gave his number 4 without Terry McLaurin.
Oh, without Terry McLaurin?
What would you give it without Terry McLaurin?
Width was a 5.
Yeah, width was a 5 and a 4 without.
Oh, without? I didn't give that without. I'm gonna say a 2 or a 3.
Probably 2 or 3. No,
without Terry McLaurin, I'm probably at
Debo, but cool. He ain't a number 1. But go ahead, Stoner.
No, I'm just saying without Terry, I'm at like a 0.35.
Oh wow, there's some serious concerns. We're gonna get to those serious concerns here in a little bit. My thing is, I understand where Stoner you're coming from with the 1-2 punch might not be as elevated as some other teams.
Mm-hmm.
But I live in the world where the Washington Commanders quarterback, Jaden Daniels, elevates these wide receivers that we don't need Justin Jefferson and Addison, right, out of Minnesota. Like JJ McCarthy is going to get elevated. I like JJ McCarthy, right? I think that his play is going to get elevated because he has a 1-2 punch in the wide receiver room that are going to elevate him. We're at a level where our QB play is elevating the wide receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where when you get to wide receiver 3, 4, 5, because in this offense, wide receivers 3, 4, and 5 are going to see time. Whether or not Noah Brown is healthy or not, wide receiver 4 is going to see significant snaps, and wide receiver 5 is going to see a non-zero number of offensive snaps. Not horribly significant, but probably it ends the season with like 15 catches for like 150 yards, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, that's where your wide receiver 5 should be, because there's other places for them to kind of focus on. I agree not worrying about 6 and 7, which is probably how many wide receivers are going to carry. But this offense with this quarterback will elevate the room. That being said, to be elevated, you have to be a little bit lower than your QB. If your QB's elevating you, that means you're being brought up, right? So to me, this is a wide receiver room that does fit somewhere in that 6'5", just under 7. I think Terry McLaurin is a top 15 wide receiver. I think Deebo Samuel has the only all-pro to his name in this wide receiver room. Mm-hmm. But that's a few years removed. I do think he can be a problem. I think Noah Brown is a much better Cam Sims. Like, that's it. Like, people fall in love with him, and I'm like, this guy is very replaceable.
Bro, Cam was healthy though.
No, I don't get me wrong. The availability thing is a concern, but Noah Brown actually saw the field when healthy. Cam Sims did not see the field when healthy, but people loved them some Cam Sims, and people love themselves some Noah Brown. But he is very replaceable. There's a lot of love for Jalen Lane, fourth round rookie. Great. If he turns out to be a diamond in the rough, perfect. You know that there's a lot of love for Luke McCaffrey. That guy he had a picture going around making him look jacked.
Mm-hmm.
The wide receiver room is what we like to say. We haven't used this term in a while.
Uh-oh.
Decidedly mediocre. Okay. Terry McLaurin, top 15. Deebo Samuels, I think, will probably finish the year in the top 50. And then nobody else is going to sniff it. And I don't think that's a problem with this offense and with this QB. I don't think it's an issue.
I kind of do, because I'm on this train that the quarterback elevates the wide receivers. It does, and it even gets them paid, a la De'Ami Brown. But in a sense, if one of the top two go down, you're really going to rely on Jaden Daniels to elevate Chris Moore for us. You're going to rely to elevate KJ Osborne for us, who I think is the same person as Noah Brown. We've already asked Jaden Daniels to do so much. Hell, we asked him to come in here and turn the franchise around, and he did. And he messed around and got Rookie of the Year and set records that no other rookie's done in history and probably won't ever do until we're dead and gone. So it's like, okay, cool. But now you're asking this man to elevate wide receivers when we are more than capable of going out and getting some help to make his job easier just because he did it 1 year. Like, that's cool. And if worse comes to worse, he can do it. But, like, bro, we're starting the season now with Deebo Samuel and Jags. And I didn't put Terry in there because he's not even showed up to camp. So I'm not even including him in the team right now until he's signed.
He'll be there.
He'll be there. But right now I'm not including him. And I don't know, because on that note, real quick, Mike Evans is old as stuff. Same comparable stats as Terry McLaurin, and he's getting $24 million a year. Then you got Terry McLaurin putting stats up as DK, and he's getting $30 million a year. There's a gap there. So it's really a hard thing that's going on. So people want to know if they're just lollygagging. No, there's rumors going around and facts going out that there's a gap, and it's going to take some time. It's legit, like some hardships going on. But anyway, I just don't. I'm tired of. Jaden Daniels led our team in rushing last year because he had to, because he couldn't throw to nobody. If you're going to double team Terry and Noah Brown's injured and KJ Osborne, we signed him, but he's on the bench.
De'Ami Brown got paid because he had a heck of a finish to the season.
But that's what I'm saying, a finish to the season, because we were depleted at the wide receiver room. So, like, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I guess I'm kind of spoiled with the NFC Championship run that we had. Now I'm expecting to win more games and be better. And we got better by adding Deebo, and that's literally it. We brought back everybody else from the wide receiver room that was available. We didn't even go and test the waters. As soon as it was done, we got KJ Osborne back. Noah Brown's back. It's like, damn, we didn't even wait for the list to come out. So it's like, Terry, Deebo, cool. But until Terry gets there, and if Terry's there and Deebo misses time because he's done that in the past year or two, we're really going to rely on Jaden Daniels to elevate KJ Osborne and Noah Brown and Chris Moore and a rookie and Jalen Lane. Like, I'm not really – I'm confident because we have Jaden Daniels and he's proved it, but I don't want to have to depend on that and make that an expectation or a reliability. Like, oh, it doesn't matter who we got Jaden Daniels. Cool. But at one time, Pat Mahomes had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and some other studs out there before. Aaron Rodgers had some studs before his decline. Like, Josh Allen has some studs before. Like, these great quarterbacks have had studs before to even elevate even more. So at the same time, we elevate these Jags. That's cool. But now it's time to if we can do that with Jags, imagine what we could do with the top 3 or 4 not being Jags or people who are starting to be Jags on the way out, like a Chris Godwin. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's my whole beef.
You're making some good points, Trev, and I actually agree with a lot of your points because there are concerns about all of these.
I was about to say you would rate it as 0.5 if
Without Terry
McLaurin wasn't in the room.
0.35. You're giving me a little bit too much credit there. But Trev's making some good points. The only thing I would quibble with is if you say, well, if you take away Terry, what is the room like? Well, that's the same for any team. If you take away Justin Jefferson from the Vikings, then you've got mad concerns for a rookie. You know, he's a second year, but a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you take away the number one for anybody, you have some serious concerns. So if you say you take away McLaurin, you have to say that about every team if we are comparing it to every other team.
Sure.
So it would be that way.
If you do, there's a problem if you take him away because you make Debo your number one guy.
Yeah.
Probably not a great idea. But if he's there and he is doing what Terry McLaurin does, then that 1-2 punch is a problem for other teams.
Oh,
it has to be dealt with, especially with Debo Samuel and with an offensive coordinator who really knows how to exploit weaknesses of a defense by moving guys around, getting matchups. And you're going to see a lot of Debo Samuel all over the place. And he's going to exploit those matchups against the opposing defenses and put Debo Samuel in position to do things that's going to play to his strengths. So that's why I think that those two together are something that it's going to be a problem for other teams.
Trev sharing Locked On Laws note here, except some of those number ones caught way more balls for way more yards and do every year. Now, it's categorically false, as we showed that since Terry McLaurin has been in the league, he is a top 10 wide receiver
100%
by most box score stats, and some of the advanced metrics as well kind of go in there, but most people point to him not being a number one or not a true number one because each year he only gets 1,000 yards, and there's plenty of 1,000-yard receivers, and he didn't catch 100 balls, but there's these wide receivers that catch 100 balls. But his consistency has been what has got him to the point that he will end up being paid as a top 10 wide receiver, right? The whole market being set that way, and the fact that he has just consistently been there, he 100% is worth and will get paid that prior to the season started.
And one of the things I like to say about teams, especially football teams, NFL teams, is you don't have to have the best, the number one at every position to be a successful football team. Now, Philadelphia last year kind of said we're basically the best at every position all across the league, but you don't have to have superstars at every single position to be a good football team.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have a very good wide receiver room, a 7.8 or a 7.5, or in your case, you said like a 6.5, close to a 7.
Yeah.
And still be a very successful football team as long as you make up for it in other areas. And when you have a quarterback, you're making up for it in a massive area. You can have CeeDee Lamb out there all day catching 125 balls for 1,700 yards like he did last year, and you win 5 games because you have you have a quarterback situation that can't help make up for all the other stuff that you have wrong with your team.
Did he really went for 1,100 yards last year, but he was targeted 152 times. It was the year before with Dak Prescott that he did get an AP1 to his name. 135 receptions that year.
You don't have to have stars. Would you like to have Justin Jefferson as your wide receiver one? Of course you would. That would be great. But you have something that has to be dealt with on the other side of the ball. Defenses have to deal with this wide receiver room. There are certain parts of the team. I don't think you have to game plan for the running back room in Washington, right? That's not something that you concern yourself with. But the wide receiver room, I truly believe that you do.
I do think the offense, the QB is going to mask a lot. The offense is going to be masking a lot. And it's not that TB, TB's going off here saying that we don't believe in Lane. We don't believe in McCaffrey. And it's not that we don't believe that those guys can't.
They're unproven.
They have to prove it. They are in a prove it situation. Okay, so there is a lot to like with both. These three guys who you're listening to right now were pretty high on Luke McCaffrey last year. Okay, we want to see it this year.
Yeah.
Now
on Lane, all we're saying is I like the stuff I've been seeing.
Right.
I like the stats that he's comparable with a lot of the relative athletic scores with Tyreek Hill and the size and underutilized at Virginia Tech. So maybe that's why he's a 4th round pick and everything, but he's a 4th round pick, and hitting on a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
It's a crapshoot. So it's not,
right.
we're not putting our necks out on the line for Jalen Lane. We want Terry McLaurin. This wide receiver room is better with Terry McLaurin. That's what we're saying when it comes
to this football team, Nathan, this organization is better with Terry McLaurin as a leader of this team. He's not Noah Brown, who's had a couple of good years. He's not who was here for a Curtis Samuel, who had 2 out of 3 very productive years.
Nice.
He's not that guy. He's very important, not only to on the field, but off the field, in the margins, as we like to say, right? Doing all those things that make this a better football team.
You know what he's not, though,
That's part of his importance.
You know what he is not, though?
What is he not?
Nathan, you know what else? You know what he's not?
Is he not a big name?
No, he's not signing for the Commanders this offseason.
Oh, he is. He is. Now, he might not be considered a big name, and that's who Trev would like to bring in to this wide receiver room is a big name. And we're going to be talking about what a big name is and whether or not maybe Washington will have a few big names by the end of the season. All that's coming up here on the game. Stick with us. Welcome to the game here on episode 232. I got the JJ Watt trade rumor still swirling here, and TJ is obviously the one who has the trade rumors, and that's what one of the things we're going to be talking about. And I was giving Trev too much credit in the warm up. I thought Trev was getting ready to do the segue for us and move us to the next one, but it's all good. It was in my head. I was like, we've been talking a little bit on the wide receiver room for a bit. Let's move to our topic today, which is TJ Watt and big names. That was, we'll answer that question of the day, because our question of the day today for today's show was, how many big names do we think Washington will end? That's going to be coming in the cool down. Now, big name are players who get all pros, right? The NFL top 100 would be a big name, right? Pro Bowl?
Okay.
Maybe consecutive Pro Bowls, maybe like a certain number of Pro Bowls, right? Because like you had, what's his face out in Tennessee get a Pro Bowl, the quarterback out there. Will Levis went to a Pro Bowl.
Will Levis went to a Pro Bowl?
Will Levis went to a Pro Bowl. 90 plus Madden rating. Is that good enough?
Hold on.
Was he an alternate?
He wasn't.
We're gonna have to.
He was an alternate.
He got in. He got in as an alternate to the Pro Bowl.
Will Levis. There's no chance Will Levis went to the Pro Bowl.
Let me make. I'm gonna verify here.
You're thinking of somebody. You're thinking of the guy from Baltimore, the backup that year.
Is
Lamar.
that? Oh, you know what? That might be who I was thinking of.
What was that guy's name for
Tyler
Baltimore?
Huntley.
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley.
He went to a Pro Bowl once.
That's
So
Yeah,
there's
'cause
no
he was an
chance
alternate. Yeah,
Will Levis went to the Pro Bowl last
that's
year.
fair.
He was horrific. If he went, I'm
if
out.
he went, then
there's a
Terry
bunch of
McLaurin
bad
is the
quarterbacks
greatest
making
wide receiver of all time.
Yeah, there's definitely a few. There's bad quarterbacks who get to go to the thing because when you had Jaden Daniels step out, and I mean they had alternates going deep like 4 or 5. So yeah, I agree. Pro Bowl maybe not the best factor here. And the Madden ratings 90 plus, maybe not the best. Nor is maybe a first round fantasy pick. Although fantasy's really big and people know they're like top 30 picks pretty well. So maybe those can be big names, but you kind of take off the defense unless you're playing, one of those individual defense deal. But is there any other rating people can think of that would, a marker that signifies that this is a big name?
Did you say all pros? Did you say that?
I did say all pros. That's the number one.
So then,
You're not making an all pro list if you're not a big name.
I'll be honest. Social media following is one. Is Shedeur Sanders a big name?
Yes.
Has he done anything?
Yes.
In the NFL, has he done anything?
Oh no.
But he's a big name. Shedeur Sanders is, right?
Okay.
So, and it's not because he's accomplished anything in the NFL. So,
And
I don't know. Maybe social media following might be
now thing. I guess for that generation for sure.
Yeah, or just Q rating.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or your Q. I mean, like a Johnny Manziel.
Oh yeah, that
right. That's a big name.
He Q rating for people.
Yeah, he has a huge Q rating because of things he did before the NFL. But so that might be something you could add in there. And we're just talking about what gives you a big name. We're not talking about guys
maybe the conference and the school you played for.
Sure. I mean, when you're talking about draft status, especially those guys, the bigger schools, those guys get their names out there. And so when you're talking about drafting a cornerback from the Minnesota Gophers in the 3rd round, people are going to go,
say juiced.
Yeah. They're going to go, who? Right?
Never forget.
But if that was a cornerback from Alabama in the
right, because
they're going to be like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Chase Young, number 2, Ohio State. We were like, oh yeah, proof. Yeah. Ain't played one lick of NFL, but we were like, oh, he's proven. Yeah, he's a game record, and now he's on his 2nd, 3rd, whatever. You know what he's doing. He's not a bus anymore.
Big contracts in the NFL, I think that would count. NBA, people get big contracts. I mean, there's so many stupid NBA contracts.
Don't even start me on this free agency.
But in the NFL,
I would love to.
Christian Kirk probably was the only one I can think of in recent memory who got one that everyone was like, who?
Right.
Who is getting this money?
Yeah, because he was a name for us then.
Yeah, so maybe big contracts could work. Yeah,
but outside of all pro, I don't think there's really.
When it comes to impact in the game, probably all pro in the NFL top 100 are probably the ones that I would look at to be like this. Those are big names as far as the impact to the play, and even the NFL top 100 is skewed.
Yeah. How about just the position that you play? Quarterbacks. All quarterbacks are big names.
You're right.
I mean, the second
even
stringer
teams
in Detroit,
right,
is a big.
I like
I don't
that.
know who it is, but
so who opposite of the quarterback for the defense? Who is that?
Probably
your pass rushers are the ones who get the most love. There's been an increasing number of big names at cornerback, which I feel has kind of made people go that route. Like people want we've always had like the Shermans, the Revis Islands from like the earlier aughts and stuff like that. But now you got Surtain, Jalen Ramsey was one who for a long time as well. But the Sauce Gardner and those things. And so you guys mentioned this last week, actually, when it came to, would you rather, Connerly Jr. be a stud or Amos, and you all went with Amos in a heartbeat. Like I got outnumbered pretty quickly because you all want a Sauce Gardner, you all want a Surtain, you want a top corner, and so those guys have become names for being a shutdown corner.
Yeah,
but I would say more often on the defense, the people who are getting the love are usually those edge rushers.
Definitely the edge rushers. Definitely the Miles Garretts and the Watts and the Bosas, right? Trey Hendrickson, right? Those are big names. Probably on the defense is probably the edge guys.
I agree. To piggyback on the quarterback as being a reason why what's in the name, I'll go Keenan Allen. I had no idea who that dude was in college, but we knew who he was. Not disregarding his route running because he's exceptional at that, but he had Phillip Rivers throwing him the ball, and now his name is big because of the quarterback. So not just position alone. It's who's throwing him the ball to make them become big. Terry McLaurin. What did we do? Draft him as a third round for special teamer? That's what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And then if we got him, we had crappy quarterbacks. So we got him a Case Keenum who was comparable. We got him a Kirk Cousins who was comparable. And now Terry McLaurin is a name. But during the draft, it was, I've heard of him. Yeah, he could return punts for us.
It was like the third Ohio State wide receiver in size. Yeah.
So to piggyback on that, it's not only the position, but like who is playing that position.
This one's interesting. TJ's challenging you, Stoner, on the Hendrickson one. I don't see Hendrickson as a big name, TJ says. More production than a name.
His production gave him the name.
Well, yeah, his production and also his Q rating skyrocketed when his contract is up and the Bengals are not paying him. And so he's in the news quite a bit. And then all of a sudden we're looking and saying, dude, this guy had, 17 sacks for 5 straight years or something like that. And then that just helps put his name up there. But yeah, for years he wasn't really a name.
Flew under the radar very much.
Yeah, where was he before Cincinnati? He was somewhere before that. And that was kind of like a big deal, but it wasn't like.
I thought they drafted him. I thought he was.
I want to say in the 7 years he's been all Cincinnati, but no, you are right. It was the New Orleans
Saints. Yeah, because he was kind of a beast there too, but then they got rid of him, and when he went to Cincinnati and balled out. Yeah, so does coaching have anything to do with a big name?
Is what?
Coaching in some sort of way, because we've named like pretty much everything else that could possibly be coaching.
No, I don't think
so.
I think Pat Surtain, Nick Saban. What if Nick Saban wasn't there? Would he be drafted as high?
I mean, I don't know, but that's hard to say.
I think that's less coaching because Trev and more goes towards that. Like you said, what school they went to. Alabama kids are going to get noticed. By the way, in New Orleans, Hendrickson had 2 sacks, 0 sacks, 4.5 sacks, finished in 2020 with 13.5 sacks. And that's where he signed the contract with Cincinnati and then went 14-8, 17-5, 17-5 with an AP1 to his name and another Pro Bowl there. So 4 Pro Bowls in a row with Cincinnati, which is interesting. I mean, you went from really not all that productive in 4 years with the Saints to becoming a highly paid and sought after big name. But I do agree before that, if that first 17.5 sack season, he probably was not on anybody's real radar as a guy who's a difference maker, right?
It's a fluke. 17.5, it's once in a lifetime, but then he repeated it.
But he's a name now.
Yeah, he is a name now. And TJ Watt is the name that there's no doubt TJ Watt is a big name. Yeah, I mean, this guy has 1, 2, 3, 4 AP1s to his name, an AP2 to his name. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive Pro Bowls, Defensive Player of the Year, runner up twice, winning it once, in the running a couple more of those years. Like the guy has 108 sacks in 8 years, which, by the way, would 100% be the Washington franchise leader if he were here. In 8 years, he managed to do that.
And he's a Hall of Famer.
He is a future Hall of Famer. Like,
he's a what?
Yeah, he is 22. He co-holds the most sacks in a season with 22 and a half. He did that, by the way, in 15 games.
And he's only 30.
And he is only 30. He will be 31 in October. So he'll be 31 this season.
Bruh.
Right now, apparently things kind of like we're looking at with Terry McLaurin, things aren't looking hunky-dory over there in Pittsburgh with TJ getting another contract over there in Pittsburgh. So that means the rumors have swirled. There's conversations now and tweets and articles about how teams are interested in TJ Watt, and they're putting together trade packages. Now, TB had earlier posted that Terry McLaurin for TJ Watt straight up. Well, there's no way that's actually ever going to happen. Yes, I realize, Tyler. I might give me a break, please, with the.
That's
we're sorry.
I put that on the parents. I mean, you have two boys. Why name them TJ and JJ? Come on, you got to separate them. What was the third brother's name?
Oh, because he was a fullback. Yeah.
What was his name?
Was going to call him FJ for all I care.
Was it like CJ or something like that?
Yeah. So TJ is the swirls, and my graphics abilities suck. So that's on me. But TJ for Terry McLaurin, T-Mac for TJ.
Derek Watt.
TJ saying it's Derek Watt.
So
yes.
DJ.
Yeah.
Probably DJ.
There it is.
All right. So
DJ.
There are no legitimate people saying that there's a rumor of a trade. This is all just people making stuff up in order to, create content. We do stuff like that.
It's an empty part of the season.
Social media said that apparently teams, I think even Adam Schefter might have said it, I don't know, but apparently teams are starting to mull over about calling TJ Watt about the trade. And then I think some either Bleacher Report, PFF, some of those social media sites put which team should trade for FanDuel, which should trade for TJ Watt, and we were one of those teams. So it's out there on social media that we are quote unquote one of the teams that are whatever. So yes, I don't know if it's true or not, but we are included.
Well, I don't know how it could be true, and here's why. Because we didn't know that Laramie Tunsil existed on this earth until Washington announced they traded for him.
Correct.
We didn't know Deebo Samuel was going to play in 2025 until Adam Peters announced that they traded for him.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, whether it's a good thing or not, this organization is very, very, very tight-lipped. There are no leaks coming out. I wish there were. I like the old days when there were leaks, so we can kind of talk
as
about
a content person. Sure, as a fan, I am so happy this is on lockdown.
There is nothing. There is nothing that is getting leaked out of this organization, and that's how these rumors usually get started. Is when the team leaks it because it's in their best interest to leak it. Right? That's how leaks work. That's why teams leak stuff, because it's in their best interest, or it's to gauge interest to see what the reaction is going to be if there's going to be too much backlash. I don't believe for a second that any of it is actually true. It's just content. It's just people, like Nathan said, this is the dregs of the offseason. It's what we do when we say Deebo Samuel's fat when he's not. We just like to have fun with certain things and talk about what it would be. Would you do it? Would you trade Terry McLaurin for TJ Watt or JJ? Maybe he wants to come back, or Derek. Hell, bring all three of them here and see what happens. But I've kind of debated it because you know how I feel about Terry. You know how important I think he is, not just to the team, but to the entire organization. But TJ Watt's a different animal. Okay, he's a Hall of Famer. Terry McLaurin's not a Hall of Famer.
Thank you.
TJ Watt's a Hall of Famer.
Wide
So
receivers.
I would consider it, even though I think it's not necessarily good for the entire organization. It might be good for this year for this team, but I'm not sure that it's good
assuming the trade is straight up, right? T-Mac for TJ.
Yeah, let's just say it's
and you have to re-sign the player, right? So Terry McLaurin gonna cost you, we'll say $35 million. Is that right? Right in the middle, right? I think 33 we'll say is maybe a safer number. Okay. TJ, new contract, probably gonna take over Myles Garrett's contract at 40 million. Maybe not by much, maybe just 41, maybe 40 and a half type deal. Stoner, you're interested.
Yeah.
Okay. Trev, I know you're straight up doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a signed Terry McLaurin jersey as over my shoulder right now as I tell you this. You 100% make that trade 10 times out of 10 times. There's no
fence over there.
I understand the reservation. I understand the want of the player, what the player means for the franchise and everything like this. This is a business. This is about getting to the Super Bowl. And if you're telling me I get a chance for like $5 to $6 million more getting a player of TJ Watt's caliber, who even in a down year is one of the best in the game. He had AP2 to his name last year with just 11 and a half sacks. The guy is a menace, a future Hall of Famer. And you're telling me straight up, there's no extra picks and a few extra $1 million thrown at that player. I'm taking it. I'm taking it 10 times out of 10 times.
Bobby Wagner for him, straight up. Doing it.
Bobby Wagner for TJ Watt?
Hall of Famer for Hall of Famer?
I mean,
yes,
I would give Bobby Wagner and half the team for TJ Watt. Oh,
Frankie
yeah. I would
Louvu
do
and
that.
TJ Watt? You got to keep
Frankie
one of those
Louvu
guys to
now,
pair with
careful.
TJ Watt.
No, easy. Careful now. But yes, probably.
Really?
But here's the thing. Here's why I'm a little bit conflicted on the whole deal, because while I want my owner to do, my owner / GM, I want them to do what they feel is best for the team, regardless of anything. Best for the team on the field, regardless of anything noise outside of it. Right? I do think you're going to have a problem with the fan base if you trade Terry McLaurin. You're going to have a problem, right? You're going to have some serious backlash. And if you're willing to withstand that, and there are other factors that are involved in this, you're trying to get a stadium built, right? You're trying to do a lot of other things with this. You're trying to repair this fan base. This isn't the right time to go and make a move to get rid of a guy like Terry McLaurin. It's not the time right now. You're still in that phase right now where you're rebuilding the trust that you've lost over the past 25 years. And it's just now coming back. And you're going to trade the team's most popular player since Darryl Green, or maybe 1 year of RG3. The popularity of him was amazing. You're just not good. I just don't think it's good. It's a good look, even though it definitely helps your football team.
So I don't buy into that, but I will say that the arguments coming from Sun and Code Talker, which I'll talk about here in a moment. Only problem with that trade, T-Mac for TJ, is how is Washington supposed to score? Code Talker going there as well. If you trade Terry, you just shave 10 points off your points per game average.
That's probably a little.
And the reason why I don't buy into it, the argument starter, because I do want to talk directly about that one real quick, which is I honestly don't feel like Adam Peters is concerned about that, because Adam Peters wants to win football games, and winning football games makes everything better. You traded Terry McLaurin, idol of the franchise, and all this other fancy stuff that you just said only comes up if Washington goes into their bye week. Week 12 is bye week,
somewhere around there.
Yeah, if they go into their bye week at like 5-7, right? If they go into the bye week with a winning record, no Terry McLaurin, but a TJ Watt who's on pace for another 17 sacks or something like that. Nobody saw. They're talking about how great a trade that was.
Yep.
So winning cures all.
It does.
And that's what Adam Peters is focused on, is winning football games. I do think some of those optics are important for the team to maneuver the public relations aspect around, but he'll make that trade in a heartbeat if he feels like in the end it wins more football games.
I respectfully disagree with that, because I don't think Adam Peters works in a vacuum to where it's just right here focused on football decisions only. I think he has a responsibility to do what's right for the organization as a whole as well. His number one responsibility is what he puts out on the football field. But he does have a responsibility to Josh Harris and to make sure he's not doing things that are going to hurt the image or just the overall opinion from the fan base. And I think that's an important thing he's got to deal with as well.
I would say I think that was his mindset going into this past year for that. But since we made it to the NFC Championship, that has changed everything in the front office. And you've seen it by the offseason moves we made this year. So, yeah, he probably wants, to keep the city happy and everything like that. But like Nathan said, if you trade away Terry McLaurin for TJ Watt and we win 14 games regular season and we make it to the Super Bowl and lose, Terry McLaurin, the real ones know, we wish you the best. I'm happy you got paid somewhere else, but we winning over here. Sorry you're losing over there. You left for more money. Couldn't work out. I know you were great for the community, but being great for the community doesn't win Super Bowls. And I hate to be like that, but like Nate, it's a business. You get paid to do this. Yeah, it's a sport, but you get paid to do it. So I think if it means to win more football games, sacrifice a hometown legend, you got to do it.
Okay.
You got to do it.
So let me give you the opposite then, Trev, because you gave one scenario as though that's the only possible scenario. There are other possible scenarios.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Which is they could trade him and it could all backfire and blow up and they finish 7-10.
You're right. Yeah.
Right. And everybody is just losing their minds over what they did to Terry McLaurin and how they treated a guy who gave everything to this franchise, right? And it could just backfire and just blow up. And then next thing you know, you're blowing out Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, and everybody hates Josh Harris now, and you're starting from the bottom again.
That's
so you have to weigh that. You can't just say the only
sport.
thing that's going to happen is you're going to get better. Because what if TJ Watt blows out his hamstring in week 5 and then never plays for the team again?
And
what if you pay Terry McLaurin $35 million and he pulls up with an Achilles injury,
or he produces less than 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns? And
they have to weigh that when they make these.
They do, but you're putting it in there as if that's to me. You're also putting it in there as if that outweighs the positive. What they will be doing is they're going to take a look at it and they're going to go again in this particular situation, which is not going to happen. So we're going to move off this hypothetical here shortly. But in this particular situation you're going to get TJ Watt for Terry McLaurin. Both were going to take an average per year, T-Mac for 35, TJ for 41. So for $6 million more a year, no extra draft picks or anything like that, does an edge rusher help you out more than does TJ Watt elevate your team more than Terry McLaurin? That is the question that it comes down to it. And 54th here is challenging this a little bit. Name an elite defensive end, says the 54, that has had playoff success while not on a rookie deal. It's harder than you think. Now, specifically defensive edge, defensive end here, an edge rusher, because there's some tackles that you could definitely point to that would be Aaron Donald, for instance, would be one that had some pretty good playoff success.
Tyler Jones is bringing up the one that just came to mind for me, which was Von Miller in Denver.
Sure.
Right? Or when he was doing what he did in Buffalo. Now, he didn't take them to win the Super Bowl. There are those guys, those excellent guys who may not have won the Super Bowl, but have certainly helped their team get there. Did Trey Hendrickson play in that Super Bowl a couple years ago with Cincinnati? Now, they didn't win, but I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, because he's been there the last 4 years. So did
Joey Bosa play in that Super Bowl when Brock Purdy was hurt?
Has he played a game? Joey Bosa's dude.
or not Nick Bosa.
Yeah, he ain't.
Did Nick Bosa play for the 49ers that season?
No.
When they went to the Super Bowl? Yeah, I'm sure he did. So there are guys that definitely will help you get there, but they're not necessarily winning you Super Bowl games. Or let's just look at last year and let's call it what it is, right? Josh Sweat had 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl as an edge rusher and was the defensive MVP of that game and then went out and got paid, right? Now, he's not necessarily an elite edge rusher. You wouldn't call him that, but he certainly made a difference in that Super Bowl.
Sure.
And he was a very good edge rusher. I think we tend to kind of get, I don't know what the right word is, but we get a little bit caught up in when we look at Myles Garrett, right? And TJ Watt and JJ Watt when he was at his peak, and the big names who played for losers for a long time.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about what they did, what some of these other guys did, not necessarily winning the Super Bowl, but getting there. And Trey Hendrickson is a perfect example of what he did in Cincinnati. That was only 4 years ago, maybe. I'm pretty sure he was already with Cincinnati that year.
In the last 4 years with Cincinnati. So if the Super Bowl was,
I think that was 2021 when they went to the Super Bowl, because I'm thinking that's
because it would have been Eagles, Chiefs, and then that was
2021, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So
his first year with the team. Yeah.
He wasn't on a rookie deal, right? That was his second contract, as you guys pointed out, that he played with New Orleans before that. So we tend to get carried away with some of that. Mike Parsons is a guy that has done nothing in terms of winning Super Bowls or winning playoff games even.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But you would take Micah Parsons over you would trade Micah Parsons for Terry McLaurin in a perfect world where you don't have all the other stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about any of the extra compensation and all that.
I don't know.
I'd trade Abdul Carter for Terry McLaurin if I'm being honest. If you didn't have to deal with
Josh Connery handled him. You want really him to come over here? Because
getting a little carried away there with that one. But we are talking about big names coming here to Washington, TJ specifically. And another big name is a Leaf. We don't need another big signing with this $10 super donation. We appreciate your super chat here from a Leaf. We don't need another big signing. We were within an arm's reach of the Super Bowl with a below roster last year. All we need is 5 and 52 other players to fill the roster. JD5 is absolutely going to cover some ground here, but the roster still needs to develop.
I was going to say,
one of the worst things I heard last year, and I've called this out several times, is the amount of times people were like, this is going to be the worst roster JD5 will ever play with.
Yeah.
We don't know that. That
We don't
roster could get worse. It was a
That's
big
what I'm
turnover
saying.
and it was a mediocre roster, but there are decisions that can be made and draft picks that don't pan out and injuries and all sorts of things that play around that make that roster worse. But I do agree, JD5 gives us a chance.
Yes.
It makes us Super Bowl contenders with all the noise going around it. So I do agree with that. And I appreciate you, Lee, for that super chat here. $10 super chat coming in. We appreciate that. What do you guys think about the big signings? TJ is going to cost an arm and a leg.
Mhm.
Give it
And
to him.
that's why I don't think he's coming here, because you're not going to get the Terry McLaurin straight up. You're probably not even going to get Terry McLaurin next year's first and a third or something like that, because TJ is a future Hall of Famer, a routine all-pro nominee, Pro Bowler. Like, this guy is top of the top. It's going to cost too much, in my opinion, when Adam Peters has to weigh everything and the roster that he's trying to build, because even though we've got cap space now, we're not always going to have cap space, and you're certainly not going to have any cap space when you sign an edge rusher to $41 million a year.
Mhm.
Okay. So
You got
do you trade for TJ, Trav?
yes. And I'm okay. Yes. You trade Terry McLaurin, and here's why. We don't want to pay Terry McLaurin. Me personally, a lot of people don't want to pay him north of $33 million a year. Okay, they don't want to do that. I guarantee we wouldn't have a problem paying TJ Watt $41 million a year because accolades, bruh. I mean, yeah, we don't have an offensive weapon, but fortunately for us, we've got the staff and Cliff Kingsbury and the quarterback and Jaden Daniels. We can win games and be successful without a Terry McLaurin. Okay. Once again, Terry McLaurin is only being considered that outside of stats is because he's been the number one for Washington in the past 7 or 8 years. Okay. That's all we've known as number one. There hasn't been someone bigger than him brought in and have him number two to be like, well, he deserves to be paid like a number one because he produced. No, he's been number one by default because we didn't bring anybody else in. We bought Terrell Pryor in to be a wide receiver. Okay. When we that's what I'm talking about. So whatever. But if you make the trade, you do, because TJ Watt's going to provide for you to be there consistently. We just got there. Now we got a taste of what it's like being there. But we've had Terry for 7 years, and we just now got here because there's a quarterback. Cool. Terry, thank you for everything you've done for us in the community in DC. Everything. You're a productive wide receiver. You're not a scrub. You're not a whatever. But the money you're asking for, I just don't think that you really are worth it. You can go get paid by some other stupid team and become their number one and get paid. But we're bringing in TJ Watt, who's already a Hall of Fame. Bro, we sat here just 10 minutes ago and said Stoner said he's a Hall of Famer. And the dude's not even 30 years old yet. We ain't said the word Hall of or Fame with Terry McLaurin. In 7 years he's been there. All we've said is he deserves to get paid. Let him go get paid. We're bringing in receivers are replaceable. Okay, we can go get a number one tomorrow if we really wanted to. Hell,
No, I think that's crazy. But
we went and got Laramie Tunzel when nobody expected it, and he's our number one offensive lineman because he ain't got to compete for a job. It's possible. It's possible. But TJ Watt type caliber players, they don't come as often as wide receivers do. This dude is TJ. He's the second coming of JJ Watt. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I love you, Terry. The city loves you. We appreciate everything you did. But I'm going to go pay 41 for TJ Watt because he's proven he's worth that. We're not sitting here bringing up stats and comparing him to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and DK to prove a point. All we said is TJ Watt, and the next words out of our mouths was Hall of Famer, All Pro.
Everyone is compared to TJ Watt. You don't compare TJ Watt to others.
Bingo. So if I'm Evan Peters, I'm doing it straight up. Terry McLaurin, TJ Watt, next year, Newton, and who else? Somebody else can go and some picks. Go.
Yeah, because I think
Come on, man.
it's easy to kind of talk about it because it's the thing to talk about because you have two guys who are holding out. But why do you need to trade Terry McLaurin for TJ Watt?
Yeah.
Can you package another deal? Can you trade? I'm just throwing this out there. Deron Payne, next year's first and a future second, for an example, and then give him whatever his contract is worth. The one thing I don't like that we do, that people do, that anybody does, is we try and determine what a guy's worth is in terms of how much you're going to pay him per year. Don't worry about the money. That we're not experts on that because there are so many rules to how contracts are done, especially in the NFL. We tend to get carried away with that. Whether you give him $41 million a year, $22 million a year, whatever it is, don't worry about the money. If the next words out of your mouth is, I trust Adam Peters, well, then trust Adam Peters that whatever he's going to pay TJ Watt or whatever he's going to trade for TJ Watt is the right move. So we don't have to trade Terry for him, but bringing in a TJ Watt, because as we've talked about in shows past, this is a team that's built right now to win right now. We're not in this mode of developing draft picks. They're not doing that. We had 5 picks this year. We had 7 picks last year, and next year we're on the books for 6 picks. And then compare that to Philadelphia, who is winning now. They had 11 picks this year. They have scheduled 13 next year, and they had 9 the year before that. Think about the comparison to that. We're not in a build to the draft mode right now. We're in a win now mode. So go and get a guy like a TJ Watt. And if you give up future draft picks, so be it. Because you're trying to win a Super Bowl 2025, not 2027 or 2028.
Yeah.
They're not built that
right.
way.
Stoner,
They're built to win right here, right now.
you going to be okay with all that, the future draft picks,
Yes.
and Terry McLaurin? If Adam Peters adds Terry McLaurin in that deal, are you doing it?
I'm just not okay with trading Terry McLaurin.
So you wouldn't be okay with that? Like future draft picks and then Terry McLaurin?
Yeah, I'm not okay with that. I'm just not okay with that. I'm okay with just about anybody else on this team that you would trade, but not a Terry McLaurin.
So your untouchables are Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels.
That's pretty much it.
That's it.
Stoner.
You have to sacrifice something to get
Terry
a TJ
McLaurin.
Watt.
That's Terry McLaurin.
Right. And I don't know. And it's
He's
not
not
a fan thing. It's not like I love Terry McLaurin because, he's gone through all this. I just think he provides a lot more to this team than people realize, other than just on the field.
We're gonna put a pin in that because that actually is a question that got pushed that I'm going to bring up. But I wanted to talk about this. Roger has brought this age thing for TJ Watt up a couple of times. And so I was doing some digging while you two were having that conversation to see, because Roger's saying it's his age, Stoner. It's TJ Watt's age, not getting cash strapped. No way. Roger does not believe in paying $41 million to TJ Watt, who is entering year 31.
Right.
He'll be 31 years old. So I went to go look because we're talking about him being a future Hall of Famer. He is not in the top 20 currently of the NFL sack leaders, but he's not too far behind. He's at 108. Robert Mathis comes in at 123. And there's several names on this list. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I was just kind of curious to see where some of these players ended up, because it didn't seem to me that 31 seemed all that old. But Michael Strahan only played till he was 36. And so you're saying that, you're paying $40 million a year for that would get you there. Now, Jason Taylor played till he's 37. Julius Peppers played till he's 38.
Really?
But the likes of DeMarcus Ware played to 34. Jared Allen, 33 years old when he finished. He's 12th on the list at 136. There's probably some more on here. If Von Miller is currently on the list at 129. Derek Thomas, Dwight Freeney as well. Like, I was shocked to see that the age thing does probably play a factor here in how many more years of quality TJ Watt are you getting?
But Nathan, they're not going to sign him to a 7-year, $125 million contract.
Yeah.
They don't do that in the NFL.
No,
We've all been witnessing it. It's 3 years even that these guys are signed. This is not Major League Baseball when these guys are getting signed until they're 44 years old because they're just trying to push the money down the road. They don't do that in the NFL. So will it cash strap you for a year or two? Maybe. That's the sacrifice you got to make to win a Super Bowl. Because this team, as I said, this team is not developing a bunch of young talent. They have a couple of pieces, but they're the oldest team in the NFL, the oldest team, and it's not even close. And they're going to find themselves in a pickle in a few years when you got to replace Wagner and Ertz and Tunsil and Biotish and, go on and on with these older guys that you're going to have to replace at some point. And you don't have a whole bunch of draft picks. It's win now. And TJ Watt's going to help you win. It may not put you over the top, but he's certainly going to help you win football games right here and right now. And they're not planning this big thing for 2027. Okay. We all want to talk about, well, what about down the road? Worry about that when you get there. Right now, you got to win right now.
Pull a Rams, put all your chips in. Right. You win a Super Bowl, you'll figure out the rest later. And they're a pretty good team still. They're a pretty good team.
And they're figuring it out. And they're starting to get more draft picks, but they're an
with
older
their whole F them picks. You
got to draft guys in the second and third and the fourth round that are going to be,
you do need to hit on those later. Trev, we'll let you talk on it and I'll get to Big E's.
I just want to say this one comment. Isn't it crazy how we went from just last year, not even talking about this, we go to the NFC Championship, and now we're in discussions about trading for TJ Watt, Trey Henderson, this and that. I just want to make that comment. This is crazy. What a year! It's crazy.
And I don't think even Adam Peters thought that was going to happen.
Right. That's why we're doing Larry Tunsil and all this stuff.
No, he wasn't going to trade for Lattimore and Tunsil and Debo.
No. We were building through the draft, remember?
Right. He said he's going to build through the draft. And then all of a sudden he saw JD5 play football and he said, oh, we can win right now. So let's go get some dudes. Let's win right now.
Say that. This is crazy territory.
Yeah, it is crazy, though, to think about it, how we went from just nothingness to all of a sudden we're a favorite and we're talking about doing things to help us win a Super Bowl this year.
One of the teams people are picking to challenge the Eagles, not just in the NFC, but in the NFL here. Big E saying, I missed the question. The question being here from Big E, how much would our offense drop off and how much would our defense improve? That's kind of Stoner's point that he's getting to. He's not sure. Right. Big E saying here, tough. I think it's a lateral outcome to be option, meaning pretty tick for tack. It's on par. The offense decrease from losing Terry McLaurin would be about equal increase of getting TJ Watt. That's, by the way, crazy when you're saying losing Terry McLaurin is the same as adding TJ Watt to a group that includes a guy with 3 names, Dietrich Wise, and like yesterday's leftovers. Like TJ Watt is, I think, a little bit of a bigger jump to that defensive end room than you might be giving credit for. Or maybe it's you're giving too much credit to Terry McLaurin in this.
Yeah, that's what that is.
I don't know where it is, but I don't necessarily think that they're equal. Now, somebody else had brought up, and I didn't start, so I can't get to there, but they are saying that, I think it might have been Mike, who had said that a sack equals X amount of points. And so last year, TJ got 11.5 sacks, which would have been around 23 points. And Terry McLaurin scored 13 touchdowns, so 91 points. That's kind of what you're looking at. Where do you stand? Stoner, you already said you didn't know, so we'll get to you after you kind of think this over a little bit. But Trev, Sounds like you're a little bit more on the TJ improves the defense a lot more than Terry loses on the offense.
Yeah, and it's no slouch to Terry. I'm not poo-pooing on what he's done, for this team. 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns this year. But I mean, the Achilles heel for this team has been our defense. We've had some star power on offense before Jaden Daniels, not to his level, but we've had some names there. We've had some Curtis Samuels. We had a Kirk Cousins here. We had Pierre Garçon. We had Jordan Reed. We had Trent Williams, even though he's like we had some star power here. But here lately, when we had the star power, we knew our defense couldn't hold water, and that was our Achilles heel. Yeah, Sam Howell let us down the field last year, but then after we scored or whatever, we knew it'd be our defense was a liability, and he'd be right back on the field. Like the defense needs to improve more than the offense, and Jaden Daniels proved that this year, let alone with Cliff Kingsbury and Bobby Johnson, offensive line coach. We took a bunch of Jags and guys out ending their prime and went to the NFC Championship with a rookie quarterback. So if we lose Terry, yeah, that's going to be sad. It's going to suck for the community. People are going to call for Adam's job when it happens. But if we had a TJ Watt or somebody on the defense side of the ball to make a difference, that we don't have to depend on a 50-year-old Bobby Wagner. We don't have to, no offense to him, but come on. If we it would be so much better. The defense would be better, and it would put Jaden Daniels in a better position to execute with Jags because our defense is so much better. So, yeah, Terry and TJ is not the same. Our defense would be better. Offense would slouch a little bit, but Jaden Daniels could get it done because he's proven that. Now, if we had Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke, Kirk Cousins now, I'd say no, keep Terry, don't get TJ, because Terry is the scapegoat for the bad quarterbacks. That's what he's been the 7 years before this year. He's been the scapegoat for bad quarterback play. It's what it is. It's the reason why Heineke got jobs somewhere else. It's the reason why other players have gone somewhere else and gotten jobs, whether they're playing or not, they've gotten jobs. It's because Terry was a scapegoat for these quarterbacks, these pathetic quarterbacks. But you get a guy like TJ Watt, our defense is set the tone. People will want to come play with that defense, not just because Bobby Wagner's there, not just because Jaden Daniels, but we got TJ Watt, and you could keep Bobby Wagner because you got rid of Terry McLaurin. Now we've even become more attractive because we have an all-pro future Hall of Famer on our defense outside of Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough. It's hard.
It's tough because offensive. If you lose Terry McLaurin, you lose some serious production.
You do.
In the offense,
but
let's look at what they did offensively last year and who they did it with, right? And if you just think about your offensive line with Brandon Coleman at left tackle and Andrew Wiley at right tackle and Brian Robinson and Jeremy McNichols / Chris Rodriguez playing a lot because Eckler was hurt, and a 34-year-old Zach Ertz and nothing else at tight end besides a blocker, right? And you had guys, Diami stepped up and OZ stepped up, and they did some things. So if you lose a Terry McLaurin, the top 5 offense is affected, but not as much as that I think would hurt the overall production of the offense. Defensively, TJ Watt not only gets to the quarterback, but he's an excellent run defender.
Yes.
Excellent, not average. He's an excellent run defender. The team lost the NFC Championship game because they gave up 55 points.
There you go.
To Philadelphia.
There you go.
Not because their offense couldn't do what they wanted to do, but because they couldn't stop Saquon Barkley. That's where you should look to this team when you're trying to figure out how you're going to take that next step. There is only one more step, and that's winning the NFC Championship game. And they scored 7. 7. rushing touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. That's where you need to improve the most.
And just to piggyback on that, just look at this past offseason, the moves we made. What moves were made the most for us this season? Defense. We went out and got a whole new quarterback room. We went and got Laramie Tunzel. On offense, we got Laramie Tunzel, Debo Samuel, re-signed the people we had last year. And that's about it. Defense, we went out and got guys from other places. That should tell you right there what we need to improve on. Defense, we went and got run stoppers, Eddie Goldman's and Jacob Martin's and all this stuff. We went and got Ken Law, yes, and yeah, we went and got Jonathan Jones and another cornerback and
Harris out in safety.
Yeah, offense, we added a piece here, a piece there, and a piece there. That's it. So there's your answer right there, along with Stoner just said. What did you improve most on this offseason to make us better? Defense. So you gotta stop
giving up last minute drives to Spencer Rattler.
Thank
give
you.
Up last minute drives to a guy making his second ever start in Michael Penix.
Oh my God!
Amen. Right to tie the game at the end of the game.
So
you gotta stop giving up, almost losing to Trey Lance.
There you go.
That's
a receiver.
That's where the issues were on defense, not offense.
No,
the problem was not on offense. The problem was on defense, and that's what you have to fix. And I don't think they fully addressed it. And maybe somebody said in here, also, maybe it was Big E who said that a defense's best friend is a good offense, right? And I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
An offense that's out there to sustain drives and keep that defense off the field in front. That helped last year.
Could you imagine how worse things would be as if we didn't have a top 5 offense? It would have been.
You put Sam Howell back there. That's all you got to do, and it'd be that's the change for real.
Pretty bad. Yeah, I would. And partially, this is because I've said this, and I'm going to stick with this. That JD5 elevates this wide receiver. So he, as TB over and over and over again, pounding the table, TB. I appreciate you pounding the table for those guys. Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane. TB is on record loving those guys. Those guys would be not Debo Samuel, sorry, but those guys would be De'Ami Brown in the playoffs. Because I actually looked at his year, and even towards the end of the season, he was just like wide receiver 3. He wasn't really anything special. And then in the playoffs, he had some really flipping good games. That's why he got paid. And Luke McCaffrey or Jalen Lane, somebody's going to end up catching those balls. Maybe they're going to have key drops, like you mentioned in the Dallas game. A wide receiver had a key drop. He had a key drop in the Giants game. That was, something that Stoner talked about in his, how Washington got to 12 wins, but maybe not getting theirs because there got some lucky drops. Now Washington with lesser wide receivers, because make no mistake, losing Terry McLaurin makes this from a 6.5 room, in my opinion, to a 3.5 room. But I expect Jaden Daniels to cover it up. But I do think that a TJ Watt, the question being is how do you get that? I think you take a defense that was just outside the top 10 in pressures and sacks last year, and you take them to a top 5. And that right there, when you're starting drives, you don't have to start drives, at your own 30 because you gave up a score, or 35 this year because you gave up a score. That, when you're starting drives with only 40 yards to go, you can make an offense with Debo Samuel, Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown, TJ Hushmanzada coming out of retirement with Mark Gallup and KJ Osborne. Doesn't matter. I think that would work. Don't think the trade's happening.
No. It's okay.
Not really going to get excited about it. It's definitely not happening. Certainly not happening for JJ, like the graphics here. Maybe there's another big name that'll come down the line that'll make for another good conversation here on Ref the District. But right now, I want to ask the big question,
Uh-oh.
which is how many big names will Washington have come the end of the season? That's what's going to be our conversation in the cool down with a grab bag. Stay with us. Welcome to the cool down here on episode 232 of Ref the District. First, we're going to get to our question of the game. But if you have a question you would like us to answer, make sure you put in grab bag and your question or question for the panel. However you want to do it, we'll make sure that we start off on the side and then we get to there because we do have a couple of questions to get to. The first one was our question of the day, which several people did answer when it came to our YouTube post here. And that was, how many big name players will the Washington Commanders have by season end? And again, big name, you can make up your own criteria here, but we're kind of looking at all pros, the NFL top 100 Pro Bowls. Those are the kind of things that we're looking at. You know, Stoner kept throwing out the Q rating, which got several people confused. But those are the things we're looking at as far as what's going on there. Reginald says maybe one, but I think that one will come through free agency. I think so. Reginald may be talking about bringing in somebody else. Locked on Law said just one. JG going 53. We're going to have all big names because they're going to be Super Bowl victors, I imagine, as well. And Roger saying, you know, stop bring in the big names, draft and develop is what Roger wants to happen. So those were some of the comments that we got in our post. So for you two gentlemen, Stone, we'll start with you. How many big names will Washington have by season's end?
So that means they could already be on the roster, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't have to, you don't have to go out and grab, you don't have to go trade for TJ Watt. It means by the end of the year, how many all pros, how many NFL top 100 guys? You could say Washington going into last season probably only had what? Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Jonathan Allen was in the NFL top 100. Right?
Ron Payne.
Going into it. McLaurin. So three big names going into last season. I mean, Jaden Daniels is the number 2 overall pick. Maybe he was a big name that people were familiar with him thanks to the draft, but now he's a big name because of his play.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got 7 big names. On offense, you obviously have Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel is a big name.
Yeah.
Laramie Tunsil is a big name. And then on defense, I have Bobby Wagner. And I have I think Frankie Louvu is going to be a big name by the end of the year. I mean, he was making a name for himself at the end of the year.
Flying over the Eagles line repeatedly certainly brought up his Q rating.
Yeah. And I missed one on offense. I believe that Zach Ertz is actually a big name.
Yes.
Okay.
Because of what he's done in the past. So yeah. So those are my 7. There are some guys. Oh, actually it's 8. Lattimore's a big name. Sorry, he just is.
Yes, he is.
So it's 8 for me. Now, again, the criteria for what a big name is, everybody has their own way of judging that. But mine is basically that you have stars / superstars who are good players and have a high Q rating. And that's what all those guys fit for me. But I'm okay, by the way. I'm okay with big names. I've never had a problem with big names. We're scarred as a fan base for all of the big names that we used to sign that didn't pan out.
Yes.
And so I understand everybody just kind of has that that thing in their head that says everybody that we sign, every big name that we sign is going to be Albert Hainsworth or Deion Sanders or Jeff George or Adam Archuleta or on and on and on, right? It doesn't have to be that way. And usually guys who are big names are good players. Usually. So I'm all for bringing in, I'm always all for bringing in Lattimore and Tunsil and Debo Samuel and the Zach Ertz and Bobby. I'm all for that because these guys are proven, and you can hopefully expect them to do the same again. So I've got 8.
8. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Stoner with those 8, and I'm gonna add a couple. I think we're gonna have, I'll say 11 or 12 by the end of the season.
Wow.
We're in win now mode. I don't think we're done. I think we're going to add a Von Miller or a Sedarius Smith type college, Javion Clowney type player. I think
that's possible. I think that's very possible.
I think that we're not content on the offensive side of the ball, especially now with the Noah Brown injuries, the Michael Gallup injuries, the uncertainty. Terry will probably be there, but the uncertainty of Terry and the lack of proof outside of Debo and Terry. I think we bring in a big name to help with that room. And that's what, 10? So I'll say between 10 and 12 will end up at the end of the season because we're going to add some.
These are big names, not necessarily all pros and
right,
stuff
just
like
big
this.
names. Like
big
I know
names.
Locked On said none of these named players have all pro and Pro Bowl. That's cool, but like they're big names. Like Darius Smith
There could be the Pro Bowl. I mean, to be fair, they could make the Pro Bowl.
Or we could have
Clowney's a big name.
Yes, he might not be all pro, but
Hall of Famer.
You know who the hell Jadeveon Clowney is.
Yeah.
Let's not be stupid. So, like you said, teach their own criteria. But for me, it's if you've proven something, you've had more than 4 highlights, you've done something that contributed to your team, you've been sought after via free agency or trade at some point in your career. That's a big name for me. Whether you're declining now or that's what my criteria is. So I'm gonna say between 10 and 12. With the likes of Von Miller, Darius Smith, another vet wide receiver, maybe another vet, some lineman of some sort or something. But
safety, some of these guys who are already on the team could pop. Maybe the Trey Amoses of the world can become a star right away. Maybe Sanders still takes a step.
Maybe John Bates has a coming out season this year because we extended him. And I know, but seriously,
could Josh Connerly just all of a sudden be a star at right tackle? From the
who's Andrew Wiley? Andrew Wiley, who we don't know. So okay,
so
with that being said,
could be
12 to 15 by the end of the season.
That are well known, these are again maybe not necessarily NFL top 100, maybe not maybe not
but by the end, you got the nation being like, yo, Josh Connerly was a rookie this past season and he was ranked 3rd in pass protection. Big name already. So
I've got Nathan, I've got a way to judge
this is a fun show.
Judge where how somebody could be a big name. Another one of your little categories.
Would
you buy their jersey? Because they're going to be big. Maybe not jersey sales, but how if you're a fan, would I buy that jersey because I know they're going to be good and I know they're going to be here for a while?
Like Trey Amos. If we went out and got a Trey Amos jersey.
Yeah, right? Or, you'd buy a Sanders Still jersey, but would you buy a Noah Igbenogany jersey?
Ooh, good
point. What I mean? Right? You wouldn't buy a Noah I, but you'd buy a Sanders Still.
No, because I don't want nobody saying, how do you say his last name? And I only tell it every time. So that's
barely say Sandra Still the right way.
So
let's not get carried away.
Would you today, I'm not asking you 3 years ago, would you today buy a Brian Robinson Jr. jersey?
No.
Because he ain't going to be here. Right? Or Noah Brown.
I got a Carson Wentz right there in the closet right now.
There's a graveyard of bad jerseys that we've made over the years.
Would you buy a Zach Ertz jersey?
No.
Yeah, so would you even buy a Ben Sinnott jersey at this point? Probably not.
Maybe not.
Here's what number is Ben Sinnott?
82. Let's go. Keep going.
I can't remember.
Keep going.
We
know because remember you thought somebody was Kendall Fuller at an event and it was not Kendall Fuller.
Oh my goodness. This man went up to some handler and was just like, hey, we want to talk to you. He's like, me? You mean you Fuller, right? The guy standing next to me.
Well, you guys were pointing out, or Nathan was pointing out, go ask him. Go, and I'm like, who is that?
Sorry.
London
my bad.
Fletcher.
Oh, this is crazy.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
the
oh, that's
London Fletcher stories. That one will always stick with me because I was starstruck, so I'm like scuttering trying to get Stoner to get over there, and so that's why I was like, just go grab him, and he was like, who? I was like, London Fletcher. Like, how do you not know London Fletcher? But let's get back to the question at hand here. I was looking it up just to see. Interesting enough, Washington ended up with more second team all pro nods last year than they had pro bowlers.
Second
you,
team
James
all
Daniels.
pros last year.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, Bobby was a second team all pro.
Bobby was second team all pro.
Hold that.
Zach Ertz,
No way.
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin was second all team.
Okay. I wouldn't have guessed that. He was second team all pro.
Terry McLaurin.
Wow. Is there more?
There's two more.
I mean,
they only had three Pro Bowlers. The three Pro Bowlers, by the way, Bobby Wagner, Terry McLaurin, and Jaden Daniels.
Right.
And those were your Pro Bowlers last year. All Pro, second team All Pro. You guys have mentioned Bobby Wagner, Terry McLaurin already.
Zach Ertz?
No Zach Ertz.
I
will give you this. Both of these names were fresh. Part of the 60% of people brought on.
Oh, so they weren't here 2 years ago.
They're not an old holdover. You're not going to get
Louvu.
Frankie Louvu was another.
Wow, that's impressive. I didn't realize that.
And then I'm going to go ahead and say, can you give it? All right. Offensive defense or special teams. Jeremy Reeves.
It is not Revo.
Wow.
Nick Bellore.
Revo was injured most of the season.
Nick Bellore.
Not Nick Bellore.
Tressway?
Not even Tressway. It was Austin Eckler coming in as,
Wow.
Austin Eckler is a kick returner.
Was
given second team all pro nod.
He was pretty good.
There. So
he was, man.
He was. I mean, I was excited to see what Luke was doing when Luke had the chance after Austin Eckler kind of went down. But those were for all pros. So I thought that was pretty interesting because that was a bit of a shock to me even. So second team all pro. I think this is going to be an interesting year for this because last year it was a 12-win team in the regular season, but they seriously got snubbed in Pro Bowls. As a 12-win team, you only get 3 Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, that's
right. On a top 5 offense, you only get 3 Pro Bowlers. Two of them really, because the other one's a defender. So that's pretty wild. And then 4 people on the All Pro, second team All Pro. And again, mentioning that this is a 12-win team and a top 5 offense. What is going to be interesting here is year 2, if they maintain a top 10 offense and double-digit wins, how much that number is going to increase. Because one of the things that if you look at the people who make the All Pros, the people who make the Pro Bowls, and get the NFL top 100 nods and everything like that, they're on perennial winners, right? They're not on just because you had one good year, you're not all of a sudden going to get all the accolades, right? You're going to get a few nods for a special year, maybe even like a coach of the year type nod, but then you're fired in 2 years because your team sucks, right?
Right.
So what Washington needs to happen this year is continue to be good. And I could see those numbers doubling. I could see 6 to 8 on the All Pro team.
Okay.
Right. Maybe even a few, maybe even All Pro ones, not just the second team.
That's a lot.
It depends.
That is a lot.
But it's not unheard of.
Can we get Dan Quinn Coach of the Year this year? Let's get him that.
Philadelphia, for instance, by the way, this is the number of second and first.
Can I guess?
Teams. Yeah, you want to guess? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna go 7.
You said all pro and second
or first team All Pro for Philadelphia.
I might even go 8.
I'm going 13.
It was 8.
Nah,
yeah,
Stoner.
Cooper DeJean, Zach Bond, Jalen Carter, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley.
Those are all big names too. If you think
Those are
about
big
it.
names. Those are big names. Detroit had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10
You
out in
need big
Detroit.
names. You need big names.
Khalith Raymond, Jack Fox, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Jack Campbell, Frank Ragnow, Penny Sewell, Amon St. Brown, Jameer Gibbs, Jared Goff.
Yep.
There's some argument that maybe some of those guys maybe aren't as well known when you're talking about.
They're all big names to me, and that's what I want to real quick.
Hold on a second.
Real quick. Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
Hold on a second.
What's up?
I might have a little bit of what's your source, Nathan,
For the
for
10.
this all pro?
This is Pro Football Reference.
That's a good
So,
source.
okay, it does look like they do have PFF here listed as well.
What do you mean they have PFF?
So they're listing PFF's first and second team as an all pro nod as well.
Because
like Cooper
First
DeJean,
and-
by the way, was a PFF second teamer.
because when you do first and second team all pro, there's only 2 quarterbacks.
Sure.
This is not a Pro Bowl where you have like 6.
Yeah, several. Mhm.
You have
You got
2.
first team and second team. That's
right. There's no chance Jared Goff
it.
was an
see.
all pro.
Where did he end up? He
There's no
was
chance that he's over guys.
Pro
like
Football
Allen and
Writers, by
Burrow
the
and
way. First
Mahomes.
team all conference is what it was.
Yeah. I was
NFC.
starting. That's why I was wondering about like Eckler.
Eckler, by the way, was an actual. All of ours are actual AP second team.
Okay. All right. Well, you started naming some guys on Detroit, and I was like, hold on.
All of these,
This
all of
dude I never
Washington's
heard
were
of.
legit AP
Ooh.
second team.
The
But some of
first
the-
guy
some of
you
these-
mentioned
yeah.
on the Lions.
Oh,
very
the
first guy.
Raymond, who's the punt returner.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
he's also a safety.
Let me get back to that one. So,
I
punt
wouldn't mind
returner.
Jack
He
Campbell.
was AP second team for the record
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
As a punt returner.
as his punt returner.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Jack Campbell was first or second team all pro?
He's
Linebacker?
second team PFF.
Okay. All right.
They,
Yeah, I was starting to wonder.
Diluted.
I was starting to wonder. There was no chance
Hold
that
on.
Jared Goff was first or second team all pro over all
Football
those
Writers,
stud
all
quarterbacks.
conference.
I mean, he had a great
All
year.
conference. Yeah, he had an okay year. They had a great team. They had a great team. Yeah, absolutely. I do think Washington can see some of these number rise, and certainly more than 3 Pro Bowlers. If they make the division round again, right?
Mm.
Make it out a wild card weekend and play well in the second round of the playoffs. Partly reasoning for this, guys, is there's 6 primetime games. People are gonna get tired of watching Washington, especially Washington
good.
winning in primetime.
I'm
Mm.
tired
We're
of
gonna
watching
get tired of
Chiefs.
it.
I'm tired
But
of
they're
watching.
gonna know our names.
Yeah,
That's
who
for sure.
cares? Good.
That's gonna be good. All right,
Good.
now the
I like
second
this
one. Maybe I
question.
already answered my own with the boldest preseason claim
Oh, I
here.
got one.
Is what is your boldest preseason claim? Before we get to, I know we had at least one in the chat for the grab bag. So if there's another one, let me start this one. Big E had another question here. Mike H had one. Make sure we get to those questions. If we don't, that's on me. But answer the question. What is your boldest preseason claim?
Dang.
July 2nd, the boldest thing you can think of for
Today?
the Washington Commanders. Yep.
Jaden Daniels doesn't play any preseason games
Hmm.
at all. Period. At all.
Are you going
Nah, I'm-
preseason with your
Yeah,
with your bold?
Oh, is that what, like you mean like
I mean, like
like
before
right
the
now,
season
like-
starts.
okay,
Yeah, before
okay.
the season starts.
This is a fine and
yeah,
tough.
this is
TJ, bold prediction: 2 corners with 5 picks each.
Wow.
They test the corners, and the corners snap back. I would take 2 defensive back field guys.
So
Add the safeties in there, and I think that's a little bit safer, TJ. But we're going bold, and maybe Mikey and Trey Amos live it up because no one's going to throw to Lattimore this year after testing him once or twice. If he holds his own, it's going to be a while before somebody tries to test him again because you're going to want to go after the rookie or the second-year guy.
Boldest.
Well, we got JG says B-Rob's going to get cut, and Paul says he's going to get 1,200 yards.
Those are both bold.
They're both bold.
I love the fact that they're going on opposite ends there.
This is
Locked
tough,
on Law.
man.
Terry gets signed and goes to IR before the season starts. Man,
Damn.
13 wins from Doug. I love it. One more win.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I mean, it's probably gonna be opposite because whatever, but Terry will not sign with us long term, and we'll find green grass somewhere else. That's my boldest preseason claim.
Wow.
March, AP said we want to make Terry McLaurin the longest tenure commander. Keep him here for a long time. Well, what am I supposed to say at that question? Okay, so there's that. But my man Terry out here traveling, posting on IG.
You know what?
And we still
when
ain't
he
got
signed
no
3 years ago?
I know, the day or two before training camp or something like that.
Well, it was one.
Well, that's cool. But that was like kind of expected because of who was in the front office and who was owning the team. Now we got some real, who's in there. And it's still not getting done yet. I know he'll probably sign, but that's my bold prediction. He will not sign, and we will go on this season without Scary Terry.
I got one for you. And this is kind of bold and a little bit more, kind of deep. Jordan McGee will have more snaps than Bobby Wagner.
Stop it right now. I like
There's my bold prediction.
Whoa.
Yo, that's quite possible too. Because Bobby's in the mentor role now because he's gone after this year. And Jordan McGee, the team website's posting a lot of Jordan McGee stuff.
There's a lot that that those
for real.
The coaches love Jordan McGee.
I love Jordan McGee.
Coaches and Stoner.
And Stoner. And probably Bobby Wagner too.
Yeah. Oh, I like that, bro.
That is
more
pretty
snaps.
bold.
That's bold.
And let me put a little cherry on top. It won't
Some
be
sriracha sauce here.
It won't be because of injury.
It will be
because of performance.
Wow. Is that Bobby degrading or McGee playing up? Is that McGee playing up?
McGee just balling out.
My only thing is Bobby Wagner is so insanely in tune with the game. That's I get that McGee could be very instinctual and he's younger and faster at this point, and he's going to be a strong tackler and all this other stuff. But unless Jordan McGee is going up to the line during the offense and audibling and saying, okay, this is what they're running, guys, get in place. I want Bobby Wagner out there. But that's bold. That's bold. I'm going to go the opposite of what Trev said. I'm going to say we're going to have 2 wide receivers with more than 1,000 yards receiving.
Whoa.
2?
That's 2.
Are you
2.
okay?
I want 2.
So Terry and Debo, huh?
Probably, yeah. But they're going to be 2. We're going to have 2 wide receivers that are there above there. Let's hit this grab bag real quick because we only got a couple minutes before we hit the 2-hour mark, and we turn into pumpkins. So we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. But from Mike, grab bag, what's the one position at this point Washington needs to upgrade? Stoner?
Edge. Very easy.
Trev?
Edge
it is. That would be the one position I would love to see them get there. Tyler Jones, grab bag. Trey Amos solidifies himself as CB1. Lattimore as CB2. And Sandra still to slot. Jonathan Jones dime package. Is that how you guys see it?
Yeah, that's fine with me. As long as Amos can be 1, but if Lattimore is traveling with the best receiver, he can be cornerback. I don't care. As long as they're both on the outside. Sandra still's back in where we drafted him from.
1 through 3. Jones, I think we're all locked in here.
And Jonathan Jones is comparable.
Don't count out Noah I.
Thank you. I'm with Noah on this
I like
one.
Noah
I'm going
Iguodala.
to take Noah over
Mhm.
Jonathan Jones. That's what I wanted to
Mhm.
say as well. Big E with the last question for the night here. For the panel, if we were to make a move for one player midway through the season, who would that most likely be? Same timing as Lattimore last year. Also will be running back 1, 2, or will Bill be running back 1 or 2 come week 11? He's getting a double hit in here for Big E to end the night. So what do you guys think? Who's a player who you'd like to see traded for in the middle of the season? It's not going to be a name you're thinking of. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I don't know the player, but I think it'll be, if we don't make a move right now, it'll be for an edge defender, an edge rusher. We'll make a trade for somebody like who's good at that. But that's fine. But I don't have a name, but
it's hard because you don't know who's going to be selling, right? Is the thing, because there's going to be a team this year who people thought were going to be a 9-10 win team, and they're a 5-win team. And so they're like, okay, we're in rebuilding mode now. We're going to offload this guy. But again, I'm going to tell you, it's no one you're thinking about, right? Lattimore was a surprise. Stoner, you mentioned that before. Like, this front office moves in ways that we just don't know.
Just basing it off the Lattimore move, we saw that our cornerback room was trash last year, so we made that move. So I think that this year, if a certain room is trash,
it's going to be to plug a hole 100%. Yeah. If maybe the run defense is living up to the changes that were made, but they're not getting the pressure, that's where they upgrade the edge position. Yeah, absolutely. All right. And how about Bill? That's our 7th rounder becoming running back 1 or even running back 2 by week 11.
Austin Eckler's there, Chris Rodriguez there. I like him, but he can't just be handed to it like that. He's got to prove.
Health notwithstanding, I'm not seeing a change right now, but I do think that we'll be happy with what we get out of that 7th rounder. Well, that was a great time, a great conversation here on episode 232 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. That's Trev. We will be talking linebackers, by the way. We had to skip a week because life happens. We'll be back to it next Monday. We appreciate everybody jumping in as we stream live every Wednesday here at 7:30 Eastern on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you hit that like button for me. Make sure you subbed up the channel. Make sure you're sharing it with other people. And until next time.
Remember, we're going to get JJ Watt, not TJ Watt.
Be a fan. I hate you.